Hey, what's up guys, Ruff here. So today we're going to be talking about some pretty serious stuff, and I'm pretty sure based on the content of what we're going to be discussing today, this video is going to get bonked from many different angles. Basically, a lot of the terms we're going to be discussing today are like algorithm repellent, so I would definitely appreciate comments, engagement, likes, sharing this video, whatever, because it's going to be probably quite limited. So we're going to be talking about Visa and Mastercard and some allegations they are currently facing thanks to a whistleblower report, as well as some other material. Now, Visa and Mastercard are incredibly influential payment processors who have essentially dominated the global market, and we've seen how they've taken their influence and tried to control the behavior of various platforms and businesses. We have made multiple videos over the past couple of years talking about these companies going out and trying to give particularly Japanese companies an ultimatum. Either you censor this type of fictional content on your platform, or we're going to pull away our services, leaving the companies and platforms with pretty much two really bad choices. So what's happening now is actually something we see a lot involving people who are virtue signaling about fictional content. Allegations involving real life children being harmed. So here is a article discussing various reports from Reuters over recent days and weeks. So you can see the title here, exclusive. U.S. whistleblower says Mastercard Visa failed to stop payments for CSAM on OF. Now I'm gonna have to use a lot of abbreviations in this video to try to keep it afloat here, but that headline is probably not too surprising. These sorts of allegations are not surprising given the greed of these companies and what they'll do to just make another buck. Now, before we get into the allegations and the report from the whistleblower here, let's introduce the CEO of OF, Kaylee Blair, an Irish lawyer and self-described feminist and safety nerd who was recently promoted to the CEO position in 2023. Yeah, feminist and owner of OF. That is hilarious. And then safety nerd, meanwhile, her company's spending about $100,000 a year on detecting illegal material on their platform. Meanwhile, the company generates billions upon billions. But anyway, she continues on here, and the article says she presents herself and her platform as a lucrative and empowering, particularly for women, and often mentions her two daughters. I want them to have a good online life, she told delegates at a UK child protection conference in 2023. I want the same for your kids. That is a potentially very bizarre set of statements there. But anyways, let's talk about OF as a platform. It's one that I have an issue with, and a lot of people have an issue with. You know, I'm in no ways a Puritan. I don't really care what consenting adults do. However, the way that OF has marketed itself, particularly towards young women, for years and years is something that I think is exploitative. They try to sell these young women a dream that if they post content on this platform, they're going to make a lot of money. They're going to change their life around, and it's going to be a very empowering experience. You can see those words being used directly to describe this platform, when the reality is only a small portion of the top 1% of the content creators on that website are going to turn any sort of a substantial amount of revenue. And unfortunately, a lot of people get the perception because every month or two, some person from OF will post screenshots claiming they made $50 million last year. And, you know, the average person working 60, 70 hours a week for dirt sees that and wants to jump off a bridge. However, those are the whales of the platform who are making most of the revenue. The rest of the people on the platform, they're making not very much or nothing at all. And a lot of people, I think, reasonably to be understood, might regret their decision. They were sold a dream that didn't happen, and now they regret putting themselves out on this platform in such an exposing way. And that is why I think there's something very exploitative about this particular platform. So I'm not too surprised to see this platform that is so driven by revenue, selling itself as a place for feminism, despite taking 20% of all the revenue for themselves, then having this issue where they're colliding with Mastercard and Visa, who's essentially the middleman on these transactions. And let's get into the actual article here. So from Reuters, Mastercard and Visa failed to stop their payment networks from laundering proceeds from CSAM and S trafficking on the popular website OF. according to allegations in a previously undisclosed whistleblower complaint filed with the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes Unit. The whistleblower, a senior compliance expert in the credit card and banking industries, said the two giant card companies knew their networks were being used to pay for illegal content on the site since at least 2021 and accused them of turning a blind eye to flows of illicit revenue. The complaint was filed in January of 2023 with the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, and the U.S. Justice and Homeland Security Departments, the whistleblower said. So basically right here, financial crimes, right? Because if this is true, they're essentially committing money laundering by being the middleman of these illegal transactions. But the complaint said that the whistleblower and other anti-trafficking experts, including U.S. federal agents, alerted Visa and Mastercard to unlawful content on OF. In a series of calls in 2021 and 2022, the federal agents corroborated the presence of CSEM on OF, the complaint said. It also drew heavily on a 2022 study by anti-trafficking groups that said they found a high volume of OF accounts with common indicators of abuse material or as trafficking. The whistleblower said he helped with the study, which was shared with the card companies. On OF, Visa and Mastercard process payments between content creators and their customers. When the content is CSAM, the card companies are directly handling the proceeds of these illicit transactions, said the complaint. By continuing to process payments on OF, Mastercard and Visa had willfully failed to maintain effective anti-money laundering programs required by the Bank Secrecy Act, said the complaint, which argued FinCEN and two other federal agencies to take action against the card companies. Reuters reviewed an email confirming FinCEN had received the complaint. In response to questions, the agency said it doesn't confirm or deny the existence of whistleblower complaints. The Justice and Homeland Security Departments declined to comment, because apparently this isn't a very important issue to them. But anyways, Reuters could not determine what action, if any, the agencies took in response to the complaint, which was filed under FinCEN's anti-money laundering whistleblower program launched in 2021. Under that program, complaints are confidential and the identity of the whistleblower is protected. However, Reuters reviewed the complaint, interviewed the whistleblower on condition of anonymity, and corroborated his identity and credentials. The complaint said he had extensive expertise in fighting money laundering. Now, it starts to get interesting here. In an interview, the whistleblower said the agencies never contacted him to discuss the complaint. The card companies had the power to turn off the switch to stop illicit material from being monetized, he added. Mastercard and Visa said they hadn't heard of the 2023 whistleblower complaint until Reuters contacted them. They disputed the complaint's allegations and cited their efforts to keep their networks free of illegal activity. Well, would you look at that? They finally discovered these complaints only after the mainstream media made them aware of it, quote unquote, aware of it very recently. As we'll see, not only was this whistleblower complaint made back at the beginning of 2023, there's also other instances where this stuff has been happening on their platform. And I think it's obvious that there is an issue with OF, and I don't think that's too surprising. But let's skip ahead a little bit in the article here, where it says, since the whistleblower complaint was filed, Reuters uncovered more allegations of CSA and S trafficking on OF, a site that generates money through subscriptions and pay-per-view content, which is also a very big issue with reporting this content because it's all paywalled. That's the issue. It's a subscription-based thing that they say is empowering for the people operating on the website, but that makes it hard to see any of the content that might be violative or exploiting people, because you need to actually pay to see it. So a lot of these organizations that are, whether they're nonprofits or related agencies who cover this sort of illicit content, they have to pay to even have a chance to search through these potentially illegal accounts. And it's really on OF and their payment processors, Visa and Mastercard, to handle and monitor this stuff. But they're not doing a very good job, in my opinion, and according to this whistleblower and other sources. So in July, the news organization reported that hundreds of sexually explicit videos and images of minors, some as young as toddlers, And by the way, I read the original Reuters report on that sort of section, and it is absolutely vomit-inducing. It is the most disgusting stuff ever. But this stuff has appeared on the site since 2019, according to allegations in police complaints. In December, a child exploitation investigator told Reuters that he had reported 26 OF accounts to authorities that appeared to contain sexual content featuring underage teen girls. The accounts were quickly taken down, said the investigator. Another story focused on women who said they had been enslaved, sometimes by their fiance or boyfriend, to make money on the platform. There's a lot of complaints about that. And here's the thing, I'm not naive, and no one should be about this. There is illegal content on any major platform. It's a big problem, whether it's on places like X or Instagram or what have you. This stuff is going to unfortunately exist due to the nature of the internet, okay? But how these companies respond is really, really important. And across the board, in my opinion, they do a terrible job dealing with the very serious illegal content being posted on these platforms, reports not being reviewed at all, report system being clogged with false reports, things like that, weighing this all down. When it comes to OF, there's something very odd. Again, based on the subscription-based model of this platform, I think it's all up onto OF and their payment processors to handle a lot of these reportings, right? However, as a spokesperson has noted, OF itself made only 347 reports to NCMEC, a related agency who investigates this stuff, in 2023. So in the entire year of 2023, they only reported 347 times, compared to the millions of instances that are reported by other social media platforms. So 347 versus millions, and they have hundreds of millions of posts being made every single year on their platform, but they only bring in 300 or so reports. They're clearly not doing that great of a job. It's hard to believe that they're really giving it their all to monitor what's going on with their platform. I think that should be a big red flag for a lot of people looking at this. Let's continue on. The Mastercard spokesperson called Reuters' findings on this abuse on OF alarming, but said law enforcement or certain child protection groups would need to provide evidence of illegal activity for the company to act or investigate. Visa didn't comment on whether the company was investigating Reuters' findings. They're probably not, because it's not a good look for them. And also, going back to the lack of reports, it's not just because if these allegations are true, they want to profit off of this illegal content. It's also to protect their brand. They don't want to be obviously exposed for this. So of course they're not going to look into these things. Of course they're not going to make a lot of reports if these allegations are true, because it'll make their platform look bad and they're going to be punished as a result of that. So they don't want to investigate these things as a financial incentive. But anyways, UK-based OF didn't respond to questions about the whistleblower complaint. On its website, the company says it enforces a zero-tolerance policy against any content relating to this stuff and blocks or takes down material that violates its rules. It said it also reports illegal content to law enforcement and child protection groups. In a previous statement, OF told Reuters it works to aggressively target, report, and support the investigations and prosecutions of anyone who abuses the platform. And yeah, you can see just the crazy amount of revenue here, but let's go to the next section. Uncomfortable images, as it's described. Many P-site websites are free to make money, mostly from advertising. OF, by contrast, takes a 20% cut of the income its creators earn from selling content to subscribers, who must enter their card details to pay for it. OF accepts cards by Mastercard, Visa, and Discover, and it appears that Discover really doesn't have much of a presence there. And also, just understand, I think in the US, for example, Mastercard and Visa are responsible for like 80+% of credit card transactions. I mean, they have an absolute stranglehold on the market. But anyways, let's look down here for a second, okay? In 2020, Visa, Mastercard, and Discover blocked customers from using their cards to make purchases on PH, another big adults-only platform, due to public outcry over alleged CSAM and other illegal content. So that was an absolute shit show, for a lack of a better term. In case you don't know what happened back in 2020 with that whole situation, there was major allegations made against PH, and it was saying that their platform had a litany of illegal material, and how they responded to that, very eyebrow raising. So what did they do? They essentially nuked their entire website. They deleted around 90% of the videos on the platform, millions and millions of videos. Now, of course, not every video that was deleted or taken down was something that was illegal. However, it shows that their curation of their own content on their website was so bad and so unchecked that they were just overwhelmed, and to save themselves from even more consequences, they just nuked everything. They said anything that even could possibly be illicit, it's gone. We're not taking a chance. So it almost seems very suspicious to people that they had to do that sort of a response to those allegations. But anyways, there's a lot more that's going on with OF. So in May of 2021, the BBC detailed several cases of explicit videos of underage teens on OF. 3 months later, 102 members of Congress called for a Justice Department investigation into alleged CSAM on OF. The department declined to comment on the status of that request. Of course, they declined that. In 2021, senior executives at Mastercard held a tense call with a group of anti-trafficking experts, some of whom wanted the company to cut ties with OF, according to a person who attended. The site was hosting CSAM, the experts told the Mastercard executives, and one expert, a U.S. federal agent, said he could prove it. During the call, said the attendee, the agent accessed an OF account with sexually explicit images of what he said was a young girl. The agent described the images to others on the call but didn't share them, which would have been illegal. Mastercard told Reuters that its team had one call with a group in which explicit and uncomfortable images were discussed, but said it couldn't confirm when the call took place. Afterward, the card company requested that all financial institutions connecting OF to its payment network confirm the site's compliance with our standards and applicable law, the Mastercard spokesperson said. Well, yeah, that's the general response when you don't want to address the actual issue itself. You just make this very generic statement that every company says on this sort of material. But anyways, each one of them affirmed that status, he said, without identifying the institutions. In April of 2022, the Anti-Human Trafficking Intelligence Initiative, a U.S. nonprofit, published its study which the whistleblower complaint drew upon. ATII, whose work includes identifying illegal content online, reported that it had discovered numerous OF accounts with indicators of CSAM or S trafficking. The indicators included keywords and images found by searching the publicly available profiles of OF creators, said the report. With these methods, researchers uncovered a tremendous amount of troubling material on the platform. The whistleblower said he reviewed the report, which notes the anti-money laundering duties of financial institutions before publication to ensure it reflected industry practice. ATII's investigation was shared with Mastercard and Visa. The whistleblower complaint said the companies didn't respond to questions about the ATII report. ATII declined to comment. So that's pretty much all I want to cover about this potentially very disturbing situation involving some massive corporations with global influence who might be, according to these allegations, overlooking abuse material, targeting children and exploiting children so they can keep making a profit. I mean, if these things are true, this is absolutely evil behavior. And again, any sharing of this video, very appreciated. I think this is something that deserves a lot more conversation, especially since these reports have come out about a month ago and there's not been a lot of movement about this. And I was shocked to discover this today. And yeah, I wanted to immediately scrap everything else I was doing in terms of content today and instead talk about this, because I think this is obviously something that is very, very important to get some eyes on. And again, these are all allegations and whistleblower reports and things like that, but it looks very suspicious, I think, to anyone looking at this. And given the track record of all these companies involved, nobody's really surprised that a scenario like this might have popped up, and that's really sad. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.